19-year-old sister was throwing a party in my brand new $1.2 million house. The house she didn't have keys to. The house I hadn't even stepped foot in yet. And she was telling everyone it was hers. I found out because my mother-in-law called while I was at dinner with my husband. Quinn, something's wrong. There's music blasting from inside. Do you know what's going on? I didn't. So I pulled out my phone under the table and opened the security camera app. What I saw made my blood freeze. The living room was packed with strangers. Sweaty bodies everywhere. My brand new sofa, the one I'd never even sat on, covered in people wearing dirty shoes. And right in the center of it all was Brianna, my sister, holding court like she owned the place. Then I heard her voice through the speakers. Yeah, my sister's overseas for work. She said I could use the place as much as I want. So, cheers to us. Overseas. I was sitting 10 miles away at a restaurant downtown. She didn't just break in. She erased my existence and claimed my house as her own. Let me tell you what that $1.2 million represented. It wasn't just money. It was 6 years of my life. 6 years of working my regular job during the day and picking up freelance work at night. 6 years of skipping vacations while my friends posted beach photos. 6 years of saying no to dinners out, no to new clothes, no to anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. I remembered the nights I'd fall asleep at my desk, wake up at 2 a.m. with my face pressed against my keyboard. The weekends I spent doing extra projects while everyone else was out living their lives. The times I'd calculate and recalculate my savings, watching that number climb so slowly it felt like torture. Every single penny of that $1.2 million had a memory attached to it. A sacrifice. A choice to give up something now for something better later. And Brianna had just handed it over to strangers like it meant nothing. Oliver was looking at me with concern. He could see something was wrong. I turned the phone toward him without saying a word. His face went dark. That deep crease formed between his eyebrows. Quinn. That's Brianna, I said. My voice came out flat. Cold. That's my sister. In our house. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. The day I finally took possession of my dream home. We'd invited Oliver's parents to be the first guests. They were supposed to be relaxing inside while Oliver and I finished dinner. Then we'd drive over together, burst through the door, and shout surprise. Instead, I was watching my sister throw a party for people I'd never met. But it got worse. I swiped through the other camera feeds. Kitchen. Backyard entrance. Every single screen showed faces I didn't recognize. They were opening my refrigerator like it belonged to them. Sprawled across my furniture. Walking through rooms I'd only seen empty. Then I zoomed in on the kitchen counter. Vodka. Tequila. Beer bottles everywhere. And the people drinking? Half of them looked like teenagers. Brianna was 19. Most of her friends looked younger. My hands started shaking as I watched a kid who couldn't have been more than 16 take a shot. Another girl, maybe 17, stumbling as she laughed. This wasn't just trespassing anymore. This was underage drinking. Providing alcohol to minors. Multiple crimes happening in real time in my house. And here's what terrified me most. Legally, I could be held responsible. If one of these kids got alcohol poisoning, if someone drove drunk and killed someone, if anything went wrong, as the homeowner, that liability could fall on me. I'd worked 6 years to build this life. Brianna could destroy it in one night. My house that I'd sacrificed everything for. Night shifts that left me exhausted. Weekend side jobs that stole my free time. Years of discipline and delayed gratification. And now? Now I could lose everything because my sister decided to play house with my actual house. I looked up at Oliver. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I'm calling the police. He didn't hesitate. Didn't ask if I was sure. Didn't suggest we handle it as a family first. He just nodded and said, I'll call my parents. They're outside. They can be witnesses. That's when I knew I'd married the right person. He understood immediately that this wasn't about family drama. This was about protecting our future. I opened the phone app and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? I took a breath and kept my voice steady. There's an unauthorized party happening at my home. My sister is hosting it, but I never gave her permission. This is trespassing. I gave them my address. And there are multiple minors drinking alcohol. Everything's being recorded on security cameras. Understood. We're dispatching officers now. Do not approach the scene. Stay where you are. I hung up and immediately went back to the security app. But this time, I didn't just watch. I started recording. Every angle. Every camera. Brianna handing someone a beer. A kid who couldn't be older than 17 chugging straight from a vodka bottle. Someone laughing as they bumped into my wall, leaving a mark I could see even through the camera feed. Each clip would be evidence. Proof that would leave no room for excuses like I didn't know or it wasn't that bad. I saved everything to the cloud. To my phone. I made backups of backups. This digital record would be my weapon, cold, factual, undeniable. I became methodical, calculating, recording every single thing happening on those screens. Oliver ordered us coffee. Neither of us touched our food. We just sat there in that restaurant booth, watching my dream home get violated in real time. Then, less than 10 minutes after my call, red and blue lights flashed across my phone screen. 2 police cars pulled up to the house. No sirens, just those lights reflecting off the windows and wet pavement. Silent but unmistakable. Inside, the bass cut out immediately. The movement in the living room froze. I watched the exact moment panic spread across their faces, rippling through the crowd like a wave. Someone looked out the window and screamed. Chaos erupted. Kids ran toward the back door. Others rushed to dump alcohol down the sink, like that would erase what they'd already done. Some just stood there, frozen in terror. Brianna remained in the middle of it all, her face draining of color as reality crashed down on her. She looked around for help, but her friends were too busy trying to save themselves. The girl who'd been treated like a queen 5 minutes ago was suddenly alone. Heavy knocking echoed through the feed. 3 sharp raps that silenced everyone. Brianna walked to the door like she was heading to her own execution. She opened it slowly. 2 officers stood there, broad-shouldered, professional, unimpressed. She tried to sound casual, but her voice shook. Can I help you? We received noise complaints. Are you responsible for this house? I watched Brianna's face on the screen. Watched her try to figure out what to say. Watched her realize that every possible answer was wrong. Well, it's my sister's house. The moment those words left her mouth, I saw her understand she just admitted to trespassing. One of the officers was already talking to my in-laws outside. Through the camera, I could see my mother-in-law showing him her phone, the proof of ownership I'd sent her earlier, along with the message explaining that Brianna had no permission to be there. The officer stepped past Brianna into the house. His eyes swept the room methodically. The scattered teenagers trying to look innocent. The bottles on the counter they hadn't managed to hide. The evidence everywhere. He turned back to Brianna. His voice was calm but carried weight. The sister you mentioned, is her name Quinn? And is she the rightful owner? Brianna could only nod. I could see her throat working as she swallowed. The second officer came back inside holding my mother-in-law's phone. He held the screen up directly to Brianna's face. The owner, Quinn herself, reported you for trespassing and providing alcohol to minors. You had no permission from her. Isn't that correct? Brianna's face went white. Completely bloodless. Her lips moved but no sound came out. The officer turned to everyone in the living room. His voice rose, commanding attention. Party's over. Line up against the wall. If you have ID, show it now. If you don't, have your parents' contact information ready. The kids obeyed immediately. Some started crying. Others glared at Brianna with pure hatred, blaming her for everything falling apart. One girl I didn't recognize hissed something at Brianna. I couldn't hear it through the camera, but I saw Brianna flinch. Her little kingdom crumbled in minutes. The power she'd felt, the status she'd claimed, gone. I watched it all happen on my phone screen. Brianna showed her ID with shaking hands, had her age verified, hung her head in shame as the officer wrote notes on his clipboard. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt certain that I'd made the right choice. Certain that if I'd let this slide, it would have sent the message that Brianna could take whatever she wanted from me without consequences. Oliver squeezed my hand under the table. I squeezed back, grateful beyond words that he was there. One by one, the kids disappeared from my house. Some got picked up by furious parents. Others were escorted to police cars. All of them kept their heads down, looking like they wanted to be anywhere else. I watched parents arrive, watched their faces shift from confusion to horror as officers explained what their kids had been doing. Watched them drag their children to their cars, already yelling before the doors even closed. Eventually, only Brianna and the two officers remained in my living room. One of them pulled out a clipboard. When he spoke, his voice was firm but not unkind. Like he'd done this 1,000 times before. Brianna, you're being charged with multiple offenses. First, trespassing. You entered this house without the owner's permission and hosted an event here. Second, supplying alcohol to minors. Even though you're a minor yourself, you facilitated underage drinking. This is a serious crime with serious consequences. His tone stayed level, but every word hit hard. I could see Brianna shrinking with each sentence. Your parents will be contacted to pick you up. But this doesn't end here. You'll receive a formal summons. You and several others who were here tonight will have to appear in court. Brianna collapsed to her knees. Not dramatically. Just, her legs gave out and she went down. Through the screen, I watched her small frame shake. Her shoulders heaved. But I didn't waver. Didn't feel sorry for her. This was the consequence she'd brought on herself. One of the officers looked directly up at the camera, like he knew I was watching. Quinn, the scene's been cleared. Your sister has been handed over to her parents. The video records you transmitted will serve as critical evidence in legal proceedings. Thank you, I said quietly to the screen, even though he couldn't hear me. The feed went quiet. The call ended. The noise of the restaurant came rushing back, silverware clinking, conversations humming, normal life continuing while mine had just been turned upside down. Our food sat cold and untouched on the table. Oliver signaled for the check. Then my phone vibrated again. Mom. I stared at the name on the screen. My thumb hovered over the answer button. I knew what was coming before I even answered. But I picked up anyway. Quinn, what do you think you're doing? My mother's voice blasted through the speaker so loud I pulled the phone away from my ear. People at nearby tables glanced over. How could you do something so terrible to your own sister? Call the police on her? If anything happens to her future, are you going to take responsibility? I tried to respond calmly, to explain. Mom, listen. Brianna didn't just trespass. She was drinking with underage friends. She put me at legal risk. This is a crime. A crime? It was just a party. You're always like this, too serious, too rigid. Families are supposed to help each other. You're supposed to protect your sister, not destroy her. I could hear my father in the background, probably nodding along, probably agreeing that I was the problem. She could have a record now because of you, my mother continued. She could lose scholarship opportunities, college applications, all because you couldn't just handle this quietly. Handle it quietly, like I always did, like I'd done my whole life. To them, what Brianna actually did didn't matter. The crimes she committed didn't matter. The danger she put people in didn't matter. All that mattered was that I'd embarrassed the family, that I'd called the police on my own sister, that I'd refused to sweep it under the rug and pretend everything was fine. I was supposed to be the responsible one, the one who sacrificed, the one who kept the peace no matter what it cost me. Something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, Just quietly broke. When the call ended, I sat there unable to move. Not from anger anymore. From a deep, hollow emptiness. The family I'd sacrificed for, worked for, tried so hard to make proud, they didn't care. They never had. As long as I played my role as the dependable daughter who fixed problems and asked for nothing in return, I was valued. The moment I stood up for myself, I became the villain. Oliver broke the silence. Quinn, let's go. He paid the bill without looking at the total, helped me to my feet, guided me out of the restaurant with his hand on my back. When we stepped outside, the cold night air hit my face and I finally felt real again. Like I'd been underwater and just broke the surface. In the car, I asked quietly, were your parents okay? They went through something terrible because of me. Oliver squeezed my hand. His voice was firm. Certain. They're fine. They checked into a hotel after giving statements to the police. And Quinn, they told me to tell you something. He paused, making sure I was listening. They said they're proud of you. They said what you did took courage, and they fully support your decision. They said that's what real family does, stands up for what's right, even when it's hard. Those words hit me harder than anything my mother had said. My eyes burned with tears I refused to let fall. I had a family that cared about me. A real family. Oliver and his parents. People who understood my worth and believed in doing what was right, not just what was convenient. Thank you, Oliver. My voice came out rough. Let's go home. But we didn't go to our rental apartment. We went to the new house. With police permission, we crossed that threshold together for the first time as the actual owners. It reeked of alcohol and sweat. Trash everywhere. Cup rings on my new coffee table. Scratches on the hardwood I'd specifically chosen. But there was no time for sentiment. No time to cry over what had been ruined. We opened our laptops right there in the kitchen and started building an evidence package for our lawyer. We clipped security footage. Audio of Brianna lying. Clear shots of underage drinking. Everything organized chronologically and carefully labeled with timestamps. Oliver compiled his parents' statements into a detailed document. What they'd seen. What they'd heard. What they'd told the police. This wasn't a family issue anymore. This was a legal battle. And we were going to win it. Over the next several days, we fell into a routine. Work during the day. Come to the new house in the evenings. Clean and document and strengthen our case. We hired professional cleaners to deal with the worst of it. They charged extra for the alcohol smell and the stains. I added every receipt to our growing file. The smell eventually faded, but scratches on the walls and stains on the floor remained, permanent evidence of that night. We photographed every bit of damage from multiple angles. Got repair estimates from contractors. Added everything to the file for our lawyer. It was methodical, calm, almost therapeutic in its focus. We were building a fortress of evidence that Brianna couldn't argue with. Then one evening, we came home to our rental apartment and found them waiting. My parents. Brianna standing behind them with her head down, hiding in their shadows. They'd ambushed us at our own door. My mother rushed forward the moment she saw me. She was wearing the face of a grieving parent, eyes red, expression pained. An Oscar-worthy performance. Quinn, please just listen. Don't turn this into a court case. This is a family matter. We can handle this ourselves. My father stepped up beside her. His voice was gentler, more reasonable. The good cop to her bad cop. Brianna is deeply remorseful. She understands what she did was wrong. If there was any damage, we'll pay for all of it. Every penny. Just please withdraw the charges. Their words might have sounded loving. Concerned. Like they actually cared. But their eyes told a different story. Their eyes showed only fear, fear of scandal, fear of judgment, fear of what the neighbors would think. I shook my head slowly. It's too late. The sorrow vanished from my mother's face like someone had flipped a switch. Pure rage replaced it. What do you mean, too late? I tried to walk past them toward our door. My father moved to block my path. You're not going anywhere until we're done talking. My mother grabbed my arm. Hard. Her fingers dug in enough to leave marks. Listen to us, Quinn. This is important. Oliver stepped between us so fast I barely saw him move. His voice came out low but absolutely firm. Please do not touch my wife. My parents fell silent, shocked. They'd never seen Oliver like this. He was always polite, always accommodating. Not anymore. I looked at them over Oliver's shoulder. Move aside. If you continue, I'll record this too, you ambushing us, grabbing me, trying to intimidate us, and hand it to our lawyer. Do you really want to become accomplices to Brianna's crimes? The word accomplices hit like cold water. My father's face went pale. He slowly stepped back, clearing the doorway. My mother's hand dropped from my arm. We walked inside and closed the door behind us. Locked it. Didn't look back. The shouts echoing down the hallway, my mother screaming that I was ungrateful, my father demanding I open the door, announced a complete break between me and my old family. I leaned against the door and finally let myself breathe. A few weeks later, our lawyer called with the verdict. Brianna has been found guilty on all charges. She'll face fines, mandatory community service, alcohol education programs, license suspension, and a misdemeanor record. I closed my eyes. Let that sink in. Then the lawyer's voice dropped, became more serious. There's another development you should know about. My stomach clenched. One of the parents whose child attended the party has filed a civil suit against Brianna. They're claiming high damages for exposing their child to a dangerous environment and contributing to underage drinking. I gasped. Put my hand over my mouth. This was coming from someone completely separate from us. Someone we'd never even met. Brianna's reckless actions had created a fire that was now spreading back to her from multiple directions. The parent who filed as a family court judge, the lawyer continued. Their daughter is 15. She apparently came home drunk that night and told them everything. They're not looking for a settlement. They want to make an example out of this. What about her parents? Oliver asked, his voice tight. The lawyer sighed heavily. They're drowning. Legal fees for her criminal defense, now a civil suit from a wealthy family with a prominent law firm. The plaintiff isn't interested in mercy. They want full accountability. There was a pause. Then the lawyer added quietly, honestly, this is just the beginning of their nightmare. The judge is very well connected in the legal community. I felt a dark satisfaction hearing that. Not joy. Not happiness. Just justice. This wasn't just punishment for Brianna. It was a reckoning for the parents who'd raised her to believe she could take whatever she wanted, consequences be damned. Then one day, my phone rang from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Brianna's sobbing voice came through, barely coherent. Please, Quinn, help me. Talk to them. Make them drop the lawsuit. We can't afford this. The house, everything, it's all going to be gone. We're going to lose everything. I closed my eyes. Saw that night flash before them. My dreams trampled. My sacrifices dismissed. My parents treating everything I'd worked for as something Brianna was entitled to share. All under the excuse of because we're family. My heart didn't move. Didn't soften. No, I said coldly. Clearly. That's the natural consequence of putting other people's children in danger. It's no longer my concern. Whatever happens to you from here on out is none of my business. What? But we're family. You're supposed to help me. There it was again. That word, family, used like a weapon, like a demand. Her shrill cry slammed the final door on my heart. No, I said quietly, firmly. You only ever used that word as a shield to demand one-sided sacrifices from me. You used it to take whatever you wanted and expected me to clean up the mess. From the day you tried to steal everything I'd worked for, we stopped being family. My voice didn't shake, didn't waver. You're a criminal who trespassed in my home and put innocent people in danger. My real family consists of people who respect and support each other. People who celebrate my success instead of trying to steal it. The people standing with me now, my husband and his parents. They're my family. You're just someone I used to know. Never call me again. I ended the call and immediately blocked her number. Then I sat there for a long moment, staring at my phone. Oliver came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my shoulders. Didn't say anything. Just held me. The next day, I upgraded our home security system to the highest level. Cameras at every entrance. Motion sensors. Alerts sent directly to my phone and the police. Physical walls. Legal walls. Emotional walls. I built every barrier necessary to protect my new life from the people who'd spent years taking from me. I heard later through mutual acquaintances, people who couldn't resist sharing gossip, that my parents had sold their house. Moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. That my father, who'd planned to retire next year, was now working overtime to cover Brianna's legal fees and the civil lawsuit damages. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No guilt. Nothing. It was a story from a world that no longer concerned me. News about strangers. Now, on our living room wall, there's a photograph of Oliver, his parents, and me, all smiling. It was taken last month when we finally held a real housewarming party. No superficial toasts. No obligation invites. Just people who genuinely cared about us. People who celebrated our success instead of trying to claim it. One weekend afternoon, I sat alone watching snow swirl in the garden through the living room window. I held a warm mug of coffee, wearing soft pajamas, completely comfortable in my own home. Nothing special. Nothing dramatic. Just a quiet, peaceful moment. But for me, this ordinary day was treasure I'd fought a lifetime to earn. I'm no longer the responsible eldest daughter living to meet someone else's expectations. No longer the one who sacrifices without question. No longer the family punching bag who's supposed to absorb everyone else's failures and mistakes. I'm a person who fought for her dreams and won. A person who would never surrender ownership of her life to anyone. Oliver wrapped his arms around me from behind and rested his chin on my shoulder. What are you looking at? I smiled, leaned back into his warmth. Our future. This house is no longer just a building. It's my fortress. My sanctuary. The physical proof that I chose myself, chose what was right, and didn't back down. The place where I'm building happiness with my true family, the one I chose, not the one I was born into. The front door's security system quietly monitors everything. Red light blinking steadily. Protecting me not only from physical intruders, but from the ghosts of my past who still think they have a right to take from me. They don't. Not anymore. And they never will again. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about family betrayal, standing up for yourself, and finding your real family in unexpected places. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into.